move forward with the remainder of our agenda. The next item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can, please stand and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Consideration of approving the minutes from the regular governing board meeting on November 12th, 2024 as presented. Is there a motion?
Motion approved as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Buster and Mrs. Anderson, seconds. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is general functions, staff, student, and community recognitions. Mr. Caruth.
Thank you, President Tippett, members of the board. We don't have any special announcements tonight, but we do have a number of recognitions. So first up tonight is Mr. Matt Donaldson, followed by Mrs. Chrissa Fields.
President Tippett, members of the board, Mr. Caruth. I would like to recognize Empire Senior Mariah Fisher, along with Empire Senior class sponsors Amy Robinson and James Sy for their work organizing and planning our senior grad Disney night that will take place on May 18th. Mariah took the lead on this idea early on and was able to make it a reality for her and 75 of her classmates, along with your support. So we're very excited about that. I would also like to recognize our assistant principal, Tara Dezo, achievement teacher, Irene Sotelo, and our Dean of Students, David Shingler, for organizing and executing our professional development plan for the school year. I really appreciate their efforts to help keep an aligned approach that's focused on intentional planning, positive relationships, and student engagement. Their work really allows us to meet the needs of all of our students on campus. And then finally, I would like to recognize Gage Braden, Empire's athletic trainer, who has been supporting our students and families and staff through student injuries this athletic season. Gage, his work, his training, and really particularly in the area of concussions has really been helpful and just making sure that our students are supported and that they're meeting their goals both in the classroom and on the playing field. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Donaldson. Mrs. Fields, followed by Mrs. Bates.
Good evening, President Tippett, Superintendent Caruth, and members of the board. Thank you. We have a lot to be grateful at coverage, so I will do my best to be brief, but I really want you to know what's happening. So first, we'd like to acknowledge our Copperidge National Elementary Honor Society and their advisor, Mrs. Lori Spees, for our Walking Wednesdays. It had been a past initiative, and we began it again where students could walk on Wednesdays to promote physical health, wellness, and encouraging them to engage in the community. So all of them have shown great leadership and commitment to organizing that event. Next would be our Copperbridge Student Council and their advisor, Miss Jenna Bay, for their work in coordinating Socktober, in which they raised more than 400 pairs of socks for others, and then also our canned food drive. These provide opportunities for our students to give back to those in need, and through their leadership, Stuco's demonstrated the importance of community service, empathy, and we are super proud of the impact they have in our community. I'd also like to recognize Mrs. Michelle Wilkins. She's our school counselor. She's responsible for recently running our social skills groups, which have gone very well. They're providing essential supports to students, helping them develop crucial and social and emotional skills. And she is absolutely dedicated to fostering that positive growth and building a mentorship program through that with other adults on campus. Our Copperidge Special Education team deserves special recognition for its remarkable flexibility and adaptability in managing the addition of new students and adjusting changing schedules. Their schedules have changed several times over the past couple weeks, which is good because we have new students, but also it takes some flexibility. Finally, I'd like to thank our office staff and teachers for their efforts in Kindergarten Roundup. We had a great Kindergarten Roundup, but we were able to help incoming families feel welcome. And I will tell you, our office staff is magical and wonderful, and we could not do without them. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Fields. Mrs. Bates.
Good evening, President Tippett, members of the board, and Mr. Caruth. Tonight, I'm here to share some more good news about the great things happening in community programs. I'm thrilled to celebrate and recognize the Community Ridge community. Okay. I can get it together. The Copper Ridge Community Programs team under the leadership of Mrs. Lynn Lake, who could not be here tonight because she actually had a previously scheduled date to see Wicked. So I think we can excuse that for her. Ms. Lynn Lake has been an incredible leader there at Copper Ridge for several years now. Just recently, they went through their Quality First assessment and achieved a 5-star rating with Quality First. This is, as you know, the highest score possible, awarded only to programs that exceed quality standards. Copper Ridge was previously a 5-star rated program. The team has embraced one of our guiding principles, which is that they're never satisfied with the status quo. Their dedication to continuous improvement is evident in their results. They maintained or improved in 33 of the 47 categories that were evaluated in. So not only were they 5-star, but they maintained and improved in almost every single category. Lynn and her team demonstrated relentless pursuit of growth, ensuring that Copper Ridge continued to provide high-quality programs that our families deserve. So just want to share the great news of things that are happening and congratulate Lynn on her outstanding leadership and the great work that's happening at Copper Ridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bates. Have a few other district-wide recognitions. Fall athletic season is wrapping up. I believe I've communicated in some written forms, but I just want to acknowledge all of our sports teams for their competition this fall and as we move into the winter sports season. Micah Mountain Athletics, the boys cross country came in second in the state, and their girls cross country placed fourth in the state. And the girls volleyball also came in second in the state. We had all of our football teams had winning seasons this year, which was outstanding. And both Cienega High School and Micah Mountain High School made it to the playoffs. And Micah Mountain is still playing. They play this Friday against the #1 seed Yuma Catholic in Yuma. Also want to acknowledge last week we learned that 4 of the 9 finalists for the University of Arizona Athletics High School Teacher of the Year are Vail teachers. Justin Villard from Andrada, Katrina Meyer from Cienega, Kim Shear from Empire, and Daniel Newman from Micah Mountain. I think that's the second year we've had 4 of the 9 in a row. So incredible acknowledgement of the quality of teachers that we have in our high school programs. Ali Armenta, our HR supervisor, who is just a stalwart in our HR department, was recently selected as the Southern Arizona, by her peers, was elected as the Southern Arizona representative for their professional group, ASPA, which is the Arizona School Personnel Administrators Association, and she'll serve on that board for the next 2 years. So it's just great to see her grow into her role and now share that influence with others in those critical school personnel roles throughout Southern Arizona and the state of Arizona. Empire High School this past weekend had competed in the State Thespian Festival, and they were named, received the gold honor for troop distinction for their one act. In their one act, earned a superior award, a perfect score from all 4 judges, earning Empire High School the state one act championship and another trip to the Nationals this summer, the second time in 3 years that they've won. And Mrs. Fields referenced Kindergarten Roundup a moment ago, and I just want to acknowledge all of our elementary schools for breaking from tradition. When traditionally we have held kindergarten roundups in March and April, we recognize the need to do that in the late fall, early winter, to make sure that we remain at the forefront of our parents' minds, for them to choose us for the high quality educational programs that we have. And so we need to just move that up to be in competition with others who are doing that. And they willingly did that, knowing that it took a boatload of work and a busy time of year to do that. And I just want to thank all of those who were involved in making that happen. That's all I have for staff, student, and community recognitions this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Next item on the agenda is call to the public. Is there anyone present wishing to address the board on items on tonight's agenda or not on tonight's agenda? Okay, not seeing any, we'll go ahead and move forward to correspondence and reports and superintendent's report. Mr. Green.
Thank you, President Tippett, members of the board. I could have easily plunked this next item into district-wide recognitions, but I think it's fitting here as well. Previously reported that the Arizona Department of Education released school and district labels. They did that in November. They were preliminary, they are official now. And our district again earned an A rating. Our overall GPA is a 3.76. That is the final number for what we have received. We were doing some calculations last night, and we think that we have been, for as long as school and district labels have been around, which is, we're trying to find, I think 2005 was the first year that that happened. The Vail School District has been an A-rated school district. So we can claim being 20 years of an A-rated school district, which is pretty darn cool. There were some additional pieces that we're able to pull out of the data now that things are official. And while I'm incredibly proud of the work of all of our schools, some are just noteworthy and need to be, it should be called attention to. Empire High School is the #1 ranked high school in all of Arizona. That is if a school received a label from Arizona Department of Ed, these next schools, this is where they rank. Empire High School is the #1 ranked high school. Just think of all of the high schools that beat out. Corona Foothills Middle School was a #1 ranked middle school. Vail Blended Learning was a 2nd rated middle school in Arizona, and Ocotillo Ridge was a 7th ranked elementary school in all of Arizona. And because Mrs. Fields is sitting in the audience, she was just 2 spots behind Ocotillo Ridge at Copper Ridge. And then, as I mentioned, the Vail District earned a GPA of 3.76. So just want to acknowledge the work that went into that. And now that, all of those things are finalized, it's good to get that out. Sent that information out in parent letters, and will be, that went out today, and have an article about that in the Vail Voice as well. That's all I have for superintendent's report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Next item on the agenda is board reports. Do any board members have a report? Mr. Buster has a report.
Well, first and foremost, I want to let huge thanks to Jennifer Henson for the invitation and the warm welcome to STEAM Night and the Star Party on November 15th at Esmond Station. Thanks to your amazing efforts, the event continues to grow and improve each year. Please extend my sincere appreciation to the entire team of incredible educators and staff who made the event a phenomenal success. I thoroughly enjoyed attending, seeing all the outreach groups, as well as the super cool projects at the various stations, and especially embracing multiple generations celebrating STEAM together. The event was fantastic, with over 300 participants and more than 30 STEM outreach groups from the community in attendance. In addition to the engaging organizations in the NPR, there are opportunities for viewing the night sky through 7 different telescopes from 3 various astronomy groups, and a wonderful presentation from the robotics team. Your dedication and hard work have truly made a difference. I sincerely look forward to collaborations and invitations to future events. And again, I'm a little bit of a geek. I geeked out, had a lot of fun with all the projects. It was really outstanding. Also, I wanted to reach out to the community as a whole, if it's permitted. Thanks to the benevolence of Post Commander Roosevelt McKnight and the American Legion Post 109 family, there will be a community Thanksgiving meal provided on Thursday, November the 28th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is free for everyone. just come out to the post 109 for a delicious meal and fellowship. Celebrate thanks and a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buster. Mrs. Anderson?
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge, I got to go to Desert Sky Middle School yesterday and had a reality check lunch there. And it's just always so great to be on the campuses and meet with staff and get to hear from them and get to know them a little bit better. And so I just really appreciate that. And so thank you to Desert Sky. And then I didn't get to go to the star party. I really wanted to go, but that same night I went to Cienega had their fall dance showcase. And I just want to give a shout out to Stephanie Johnson, Miss J over at Cienega. Last year, because I try to go to a lot of the fine arts shows at the different schools. And so last year I got to go as a board member. And this year I got to go as a parent. And it just seeing in my home the growth that she has helped my daughter with, and seeing just the joy with these students. She got Rookie of the Year last year for Cienega, and just a huge shout out, just an amazing person. And she's the type of person that I want around my kids. And so I'm grateful that she is. So thank you.
Any other board reports? Mrs. Pratt?
Really, really quick. I attended a middle school basketball game at OBMS on Monday yesterday. And I was planning on going, and then I found out that OBMS was playing Esmond. So then it was just kind of fun to watch them. Basketball is actually a really fun sport to watch, especially at middle school. And I just want to thank the coaches. I know it's a lot of time and effort on their part, but it gives the kids such an opportunity to grow and learn so many new skills. So I just want to say thank you to them. I know that second quarter is wrapping up for the sports. And then I also attended the religious leaders meeting at Rock and K. We also had the opportunity with Kate Robald to sign the floor at the new Saguaro Creek K school. And that's just such a great experience. I just think it's really special to be able to lead those sentiments at the school. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Mrs. Pratt? Any other board reports? I enjoy the opportunities to plug it in with the religious leaders and community members as we intentionally gather to talk about ways that we can collaborate to serve families in our community. It definitely enjoyed that get together and the visit to the Saguaro Creek. The other thing that I'd like to share is the Vail School District schools. Many schools have been participating in food drives to benefit the local food bank over the last several weeks. And over 12,000 pounds of food was collected from various schools throughout the district to provide holiday meals to families here in our local area, including students who attend our school and staff who work at our school. And yesterday, we had the opportunity to gather those families together and do that meal distribution. 343 family meal packs were provided to various families throughout our community. And that was only possible because of the large outpouring of community support and the individual efforts made at every school to share that effort, and the families and the students getting involved and having the opportunity to make an impact in their fellow classmates and community members' lives. It's very much appreciated. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. At this time, the board below are consent matters and will be considered in one motion at this time. There will be no discussion of consent items. Any board member may remove an item from the consent agenda by request, and all items not accepted and approved as part of the consent agenda will be considered individually Do any board members wish to pull an item from the agenda? Not seeing any, I'll go ahead and ask Mr. Crew to make a motion.
Thank you, President Tippett. It's recommended that the Vail School District Governing Board approve all items on the consent agenda as presented.
I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve as presented.
Mr. Buster moves. And Mrs. Pratt seconds. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is old business. 60-day public display of supplementary materials, Tier 1 Stanford Drug and Alcohol Prevention Curriculum. Mr. Green.
Thank you, President Tippett, members of the board. We had an opportunity to study this in a study session and then as a study item, just to look at the materials and review them. What we need to take care of tonight, Mr. Carney's going to do that here in just a second, is take action to put those on public display. Mr. Carney.
Thank you, President Tippett, Mr. Kruth, and members of the board. Yes, thank you for your feedback from our last meeting. Our high school principals continue to be excited about the possibility of implementing such a program with our students as a Tier 1 tool to give exposure to all of our students for drug and alcohol education. At this time, based upon our last meeting and the indicators that we're on the right path forward, per board policy IJJ, textbook supplementary materials selection and adoption, we're bringing this before you to seek your approval for a 60-day public display as per the board policy.
And I'll go ahead and make the recommendation. It's recommended that the Vail School District Governing Board take action to publicly display the Tier 1 Stanford Drug and Alcohol Prevention Curriculum to allow time for public input prior to consideration of recommending adoption of these materials as presented.
I'll accept a motion.
I make a motion to initiate the 60-day public review comment.
Seconded.
He moves and Mr. Buster seconds. Any comments or questions? Mr. King.
Yes, from the last meeting, we talked about this needing the 60-day period. We also talked about every 6 months that this will be updated. Will those updates also require a 60-day comment period or public review period because they are changing the curriculum?
Mr. Groove.
I think we'll need to take a look at what level of update they are, if it's how substantive the update is relative to the lessons. I think if it's a new lesson, if it's a new addition of a lesson, perhaps, but if it's not a new lesson, it's just an update to some background materials, probably not. So I think a portion of that will determine on what level of update that looks like.
Mr. King.
Follow-up question real quick. One of the other was are there going to be any additional resources and materials needed to purchase or procure for this outside of just the curriculum?
Mr. Carney?
Yes, President Tippett, Mr. Kruth, members of the board. No, this is one of the advantages of this particular program is that the cost, in fact, it's a free program, and we don't anticipate there'll be additional materials that'll be needed.
Any other comments or questions? I appreciate the opportunity to bring it forward for public review. And so with that, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda are the 2024-2025 301 goals. Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, President Tippett, and members of the board. Mrs. Penn brought this forward last time and studied them. This is the time of year we do that every year to bring forward the 301 site goals. Board has had an opportunity to review them. Just as a reminder, the funding available for 301 is a rate at $700 per eligible teacher for each of the two goals, or $1,400 per teacher. Happy to review any of the additional materials if that is helpful as part of this, but I'll go ahead and make the recommendation to take action on approving these. It's recommended that the Vail School District Governing Board approve the 2024-2025 301 goals as presented.
Accept the motion. And second,
Seconded.
Mr. Buster seconds. Any comments or questions regarding this item? Mr. King.
Yes, thank you. The last time when we were studying this, there was a question regarding concerns or questions from the site councils for the site goals. And I was just following up on that question.
Just, Mr. King, just so I'm clear, was there, if following up was there any input from site councils relative to the goals? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, were there any comments or concerns from the individual site councils
Thank you.
regarding the goals?
Mrs. Penn?
President, if it, Mr. Chris, members of the board, I have not heard anything to add to that. To be completely transparent, I've also been out since our last board meeting. It's only my second day back and I haven't gathered any additional information. I apologize for that, but I have not heard of any additional comments from site council other than what was shared by Ms. Black at our last meeting.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, with that, thank you for the opportunity to review this and have the opportunity to continue to consider it over the last few weeks. With that, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the 2024-2025 leadership goals. Mr. Crew.
Thank you. Similar to the 301 goals, this is a process. This is a district initiated process for our leadership site goals. They're in corresponding letter grades. Principals develop their respective leadership goals. Often those goals are in alignment, and generally in alignment with their 301 goals. Compensation for this program is currently at $4,500 per principal and $2,250 for assistant principals who are eligible. So we studied these. Happy to again review any additional background if that's helpful to refresh memories. But with that, I'll go ahead and make the recommended action that the Vail School District Governing Board approve the 2024-2025 leadership goals as presented.
I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve as presented.
Mr. Buster moves. Next item. Second. That was the next item I was looking for. Thank you. Mrs. Pratt seconds. Any comments or questions on the leadership goals? Mr. Buster.
Being in my second year, having the opportunity to review these, I was very impressed with. They're informed, they're challenging, they're forward-looking, and they're actionable. So very impressed with the professional staff and what their goals are now and long into the future.
Thank you, Mr. Buster. I agree. Thank you for the opportunity to continue to study these over the last 2 weeks. And unless there's any other comments or questions, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is ASBA policy advisories. Mr. Karu.
There's a slate of policies that we studied at the last meeting that are, I'm happy to review those again with you. Guess what? We have another slate of policies and new business too we get to study, but these are taking action. I'm happy to review any of them if you would like, but I'll go ahead and make the recommendation that the Vail School District Governing Board approve the slate of Arizona School Board Association policy advisories as presented.
Mrs. Pratt moves.
Seconded.
Mrs. Anderson seconds. Saw the restraint there. Any comments or questions? Mr. Buster.
Again, having the opportunity to review these as opposed to previous years. Again, they're back in line with not only our mission, our goals, but also our culture as a district, as a board, and as a community. So again, I couldn't be more in favor of.
Thank you, Mr. Buster. I appreciate the effort that goes into ensuring that our policies are aligned with ever-changing laws and also reflect the values for our community. So with that, we'll go ahead and call for the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is RFP 25-004-30 Childcare Management Software, CCMS. This is an action item.
It
Mr.
is.
Cruz.
And Mrs. Bates is here to talk to us about that. Mrs. Bates.
Thank you, President Tippett, Superintendent Kruth, and members of the board. In August, our community programs team, in collaboration with Vail Inclusive Preschool, began pursuing a childcare management software to modernize and create efficiencies for our staff and parents. Our diverse committee, named in the background, came up with a list of specific functions and features and solutions that we were looking for. We specifically needed a software that could assist us with things like enrollment, payments, and communication, just to kind of name a few of the things that we were looking for. We had 4 complete vendor responses, and from those we took scores and used our rubric that we came up with and identified 2 of the vendors to be able to do a sandbox evaluation with. At that time, our committee took a little break and allowed the office managers who really are in the thick of using our software the most to have an opportunity to play around and see what types of things they liked and didn't like about those two vendors. They then came back to the committee and kind of advised on which one they felt was user-friendly and which one had kind of great customer service, parent access, communication tools, and the things that we were looking for. The greater committee reviewed kind of their feedback and then continued our scoring. And at that time, we unanimously recommended the software named RX for our solution for childcare management software. And so we're putting forth that recommendation for that solution for community programs and Vail Inclusive Preschool.
So I'll go ahead and make the recommended action. The Vail School District Governing Board approve wrong one, sorry. That the Vail School District Governing Board award RFP 25-004-30 Child Care Management System to the vendor RX for a 1-year term with the option to renew for up to 4 consecutive terms thereafter as presented.
I'll accept the motion.
I'll motion.
Mrs. Anderson moves
Seconded.
and Mr. Buster seconds. Any comments or questions about this RFP? Mr. Buster?
Could you please repeat the name?
RX, ARUX.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just thank you for being really diligent and following proper processes in order for us to make this selection. And I love that we had the opportunity to kind of do a drive before we made the decision, so you guys could really get in and see how it was going to work for the organization. And hopefully it provides all the tools that you guys are looking for to serve our families. With that, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda are district goals. Mr. Green.
Thank you, President Tippett and members of the board. We have a long history of adopting district goals. Frankly, they're targets by which the rest of the district should line up and aim towards. And last year we took the step to not just do them for 1 year, but really to do them for 2 years as an action item for the purpose of providing stability of target for our organization and for all of the departments and sites to aim at. One of the additional pieces that we added last year was the recognition that focusing on high quality relationships is important, and what are our actions around doing that. So we have 3 functional goals. One is a district goal around GPA, an academic goal, which is to maintain a district-wide GPA of 3.75 or higher. A relationship goal that provides a menu of items both for the sites and frankly for our district administrative staff to hit and choose from. So that we positively that we are positive and intentional in our relationships with students, past staff, and parents. And then our lighthouse goal. This is another goal that we've had in place for a long time around our Beyond Textbooks program. We shifted that a little bit because we were having teachers for a number of years upload lessons, which is still a possibility, but we broadened it out for the ability for more staff, more teachers to be able to impact beyond textbooks through other means and other ways than just simply uploading lessons. And there's a menu of options for our staff to accomplish that Lighthouse goal. So I'm happy to go through these more in depth, but fundamentally, we have 3 targets, one around academics, one around relationships, and one around our continued pursuit of being a lighthouse school district through beyond textbooks. Technically, the board made an approval last year to go through the 24-25 school year, but I feel it's important to have another affirmation that these are our targets, and so I'm bringing this back to the board as an action item again tonight, just to affirm that. If the board takes action on this, what we'll do obviously is aim towards those things. And when we come around to this point next year, we'll take a look at, do we need to adjust another 2-year window, and what does that look like beyond into that next 2 years? So with that, I'll just go ahead and make the recommendation. And I should say, if the board has input around those goals, we can back up and make some trim our sails towards those now. But with that, I'll just go ahead and make the recommendation that the Vail School District Governing Board approve the 24-25 district goals as presented.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion. Motion. Mrs. Pratt moves.
Seconded.
And Mr. Buster second. Any comments or questions around district goals? Mrs. Henderson.
I just appreciate it like being brought to us again this year. And I appreciate that it's on the forefront of, the focus and what's going on. So thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Buster.
For me, it appears to be the right direction, aligned with our mission, our focus, and intentionality.
Any comments or questions? Yeah, I appreciate bringing it back for reaffirmation. It gives you and the staff the opportunity to really know this is where the governing board is pushing, and we're supporting your efforts in these directions and continuing to keep our eye on high academic performance and strong quality relationships, and impacting our greater school community, to include enriching our own staff access to high quality materials and student access to those same high quality materials. So with that, I'll go ahead and call for the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, motion carries. Last item on the agenda is the ASBA policy advisories. Is this our last advisory done?
We thought that was the case, but then Mrs. Peterson brought in another stack earlier today. So we may not be quite done. So we need to evaluate those.
Okay.
With that, so before you for study, as another slate, this time 7 different policy advisories. As per usual, most of them are to bring into alignment policy with recently adopted law changes and that have been implemented into the Arizona revised statutes and or administrative code. In some cases, in this one, in these, and I'll call them out, and I appreciate this from ASBA, it was a removal of some language that wasn't referenced in statute or law. So it gives the recommendation is that boards have more flexibility around that, and I appreciate that direction for sure. So the first is the evaluation policy, BAA, evaluation of school board, and that was one of those policies where their language wasn't in statute, and it's not obviously the board can choose to do what they want, but there was a specific date of October 30th that board was to do a self-evaluation. That's not in statute. So the language simply is changed to say, should it choose to do so, the board may conduct a self-evaluation. There is bidding and purchasing procedures for how we go about doing that business. Basically, the language is just an adjustment with the Code of Federal Regulations. Our purchasing staff is on that process and monitoring that. The next is around both professional staff certification and professional credentialing. And the one after that, 803 and 804, both the same language as support staff qualification requirements. Is again additional language that tightens or tries to remove any possible loophole around sexual abuse or assault. In this instance, also adding acts that might have occurred in other states. Just tightens up that language and policy, and just want to state clearly, those are things we screen for anyways. It's just clearly and more clear in policy, and it is directly tied to changes in the Arizona revised statute. Policy number 805, again, it has to do with curriculum development. That's actually removing language that wasn't in statute, and that language was a requirement that there be a certified teacher or personnel on the curriculum development committee or process. Obviously, I'm fine bringing forth that recommendation as a practice. We do that anyways. It's just removes it from, we wouldn't do that without having certified teachers on that committee. But just removes that. And I think the part of the reason from a statewide process to do that is charter schools and others don't have to have certified teachers. So, and honestly, in the reference to that, some of the curriculum materials that Mrs. Stowe and Mr. Carney are reviewing, it may be better to have counselors and others and look at that material than other certified teachers. So anyways, just gives it more flexibility. Animals in the school, which is interesting. There's a whole section about service animals added, and in particular, language around how those service animals must be in direct proximity to and under the control of their handler at all times. So there's a long section about that. Happy to dive into that if you want that, on what that looks like. Policy number 807 has to do with seizure management training, and just some additional language around what our staff is, what the Arizona Department of Health and other agencies are required to provide to schools, and what training schools are required to provide around seizure management training. I'm happy to go into that. And I think that was the last one. There you go. Happy to answer questions on those. These are study items. We'll bring the slate back for action at our next board meeting.
Any comments or questions on any of the policies? Mrs. Pratt?
Just a quick clarification on the animals in school. Is this for anybody, like, do we have any students who are using service animals? Is this directly for staff?
Thank you, Member Pratt. It's actually through the Americans with Disabilities Act so it doesn't specify adult or child. Okay. The policy doesn't. It simply says if you have a service animal, a certified service animal, that it must be under the control of the handler at all times. And then describes additional language for that, but it doesn't distinguish between students and adults. I'm unaware of students having a service animal on campus. We do have some service animals that are managed by certified handlers who we use in various therapy capacities.
Next question.
Any other comments or questions on the policy advisories? All right, thanks for bringing us all up to speed. This is a study item, so I guess we'll loop back around. If anybody has any questions, please let them know. Next item on the agenda before the Thanksgiving holiday is adjournment. I'll accept a motion.
All motion.
Mr. Anderson moves. And Mr. King seconds. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Thanks, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving all.